So this is the Holacracy Practice Guild Meeting on November 11, 2022. Welcome everyone. And let's start with a check-in round. So first of all, before we start, let's look at the Miro board and the structure of the meeting as I envisioned it, and to just tell you how I would like to do this with you today. First of all, we start with the check-in round introductions. Then we do some technical style agenda building. You can grab a sticky open from the upper right corner and write your topic or your intention, whatever, on it and your name. And then we go through them one by one and look at each topic of interest until the person who brought that topic feels they're good. And after we're done with the agenda, we do a closing round. That's the very basic way we can run this. It's a format that works really well for these kinds of groups. So I just thought, yeah, that makes sense for today too. So, and since we don't know each other, all of us don't know each other, yeah, it would be good to combine our check-in with a brief introduction. You can, as I said, you can fill out one of the stickies in the upper left corner, grab one and write your info on it for everyone else. And then also for later occasions, so people see who's coming here and what kind of people are hanging around. And then, yeah, we do the agenda up there. Okay, let's start. Maybe I start with myself since I'm the host today, and next time I guess as well. My name is Dennis Wittrock. I'm from Germany, northern Germany. I live near Bremen city, Hanseatic city, and I'm currently working for a Holacracy provider by the name Expreneurs. And until recently, I was also filling roles for just.work, and since, well, 2016. And yeah, I've been around in the Holacracy world, know Tom from the old days. And yeah, so yeah, that's about me, I think. Anything else you can bring up as a question or attention later. Yeah, I pass the word on to Peter. Would you introduce yourself?
Thanks, Dennis. Yeah, so Peter Kessels. So at the moment, I'm spending most of my time in just.work, 100% actually. And what time I have on top of that, I'm also a coach. Calling myself a PowerShift coach now. Something else I'm developing, that concept I'm bringing into the world. So that's doing that as well. One of the co-founders of Encode as well, and still have some roles there in the Anchor Circle. Yeah, good to be here. So this is the and so exciting to see. Oh wait, is it sirens? Okay. And so this is so great to see this coming together. Guilds popping up in just.work, and so this is the second guild meeting already. We had one earlier this week. And so very exciting to see that. That's my check-in.
Great. Let's move on to Tom.
Hey, everybody. I echo some of Peter's comments. It's so cool to see the guilds coming to life. Amazing. And new people coming into this ecosystem, this PowerShift thing. It's great to see Erik and Elijah here. And yeah, it's just really satisfying to see us doing this work in the world for year in and year out, making these changes and then coming together and sharing practice tips and tricks. And I'm always learning too, still, even after all this time. So I've got an agenda item and I'm anxious to hear people's thoughts about it. So thanks everybody for being here.
Great. And Erik. your check-in, your introduction.
Yeah, thank you, Dennis. My name is Erik. I'm here based in the Netherlands. I work for Unilever, big company, more than 25 years. I filled a few roles, a little bit in PowerShift People, not so long ago. And currently, I'm not spending time on that. And I became a member of just.work. And yeah, very curious to see how the guilds are developing, what's out there. So I'm just sniffing around and, you know, learn and take as much as I can to understand the whole concept, with an intention over time to participate in for-purpose enterprises. I don't know how and when, but I'm just here curious to see how things are moving. And I've had some Holacracy practice, and I've been on a practitioner course, yeah, that's it for me, and I'm all in. And I need to step out at, what is it? I think 5:30 when the meeting is finished. So yeah, thank you for that.
Great, welcome, and also welcome Elijah. Your check-in, introduction, please.
Thank you. Yeah, it's good to be here. I have started working in Holacracy just through PowerShift Properties, which recently started. That's getting some of my time. I also strategy for a Bitcoin mining operation in Dallas. And so, yeah, I'm from the United States. I actually got to Puerto Rico last night. So I'm living the work from anywhere type of life that PowerShift Properties is trying to cater to. I'm fascinated by the self-governing, self-organizing systems and ways of working. And so it's really cool to be here and to be learning more. And I'm already seeing the problems with other organizations that I work in. It's hard to unsee it. So yeah, good to be with you guys, and I look forward to learning.
Excellent. So Jonah, last but not least, your
Hola. From the southern corner of the Americas, from Buenos Aires, Argentina. I fill roles in pretty much almost every enterprise in the ecosystem. So mainly at Encode and PowerShift People. And I'm an entrepreneur for the last 15 years, been exposed to Holacracy for the last 5 years. I facilitated the transitioning of Bike in Buenos Aires into a holacratic organization first and to a for-purpose enterprise afterwards. And strong believer of this way of doing and thinking work. And really happy to see this happening, you know, even though I only not know Elijah, which is good. Hi, Elijah. It's good that, you know, there's movement, and just at work, it's alive, and it's I really resonate with the idea of having this community of independent actors, and really happy that this is happening. And also I have to say that I'm really distracted, and I'm going to jump off now because I'm not paying attention. So I wanna come out clear, and that's also why I asked for a recording, because I'm curious on the results. So I guess I'm going to see you in the recording afterwards, and there's also my checkout.
Good luck.
Break a
John.
leg.
Good luck, man.
Yeah.
Bye.
Happen.
Bye.
All right. Leaves more time for us in our agenda item. So let's you know, Tom already started to pick a topic there. You can add yours and just right away. And you know the drill. One or two words to represent your agenda item, and then yeah, add your name. Then we can identify you. Let's see what we got. What do I have? Okay. Anything else? Anything you ever wanted to ask about Holacracy, but didn't dare to? It's fair game. Oh, wait. Okay, still writing, so I'll give you still, let me, I like this. So there you go.
I didn't know you could set a timer.
Yeah.
I could have used that yesterday.
It's a great feature. I love it. It's so great because everybody's seeing it and that everybody's hearing it. Okay, you can always add agenda items, you know that. So we can build this agenda later. So let's start with let's see. Take where to start for multinational company, Erik. So what's your
Yeah, so as I said, I work for Unilever, big company, command control, centralized control, hierarchy, pyramid. And I've been in the past thinking about how to make some experimentation there. There's a lot of appetite in the company for self-organization and more agile ways of working because we see we're too big, it goes slow. So we need to change as a big company, but then the question is where to start and how would I go about it to introduce this within a big company like Unilever? What's the smartest way to start it? A big lounge with all kinds of trainings, or just, you know, on the other side of the spectrum, start small, just get some of the basic ideas into the meeting structure, you know, operations, governance. So it's basically seeking advice or some tips, or how would I go about it? Because this is new, completely new for a company like ours. I have to respect that there is the old, it will be a niche then in the company, it will be then, let's say, incubated somewhere inside. But in the bigger picture, there's the bigger world is traditional. So it's, you know, can it be done in the traditional pyramid, and then within somewhere you have some experiment of holacracy?
Yeah. Well,
or should I go to the CEO and say, guys, we need to change?
Yeah, well, if you wanted to, I mean, you can do some things, but I'm always a bit skeptical with the really big really big companies, because there's just too many people with too many agendas. And so if you wanted to be like sustainable, you would have to start at the top, because otherwise there's gonna be somebody, you would have to find a niche that is protected where there's a manager who gets the permission to do his thing with his department and shield it from larger management. But of course, it's still part of the company, so there's always interaction and friction. Because if you have two systems running, then there will be friction between the two systems over time. It's not to say that it can't be done. I think small experiments can work if there's not too many dependencies on other departments for the kind of work that's being done there. And if the management backs the experimentation, says, okay, you go ahead and do whichever way, as long as you get results, we're fine. But then, even then, it's still fragile, because what if that person leaves or gets fired or something? Then the whole thing just falls together like a house of cards. So it's difficult to say. When how can you go about it? I would say you first have to identify the pains. What are the pains? And then speak to the solutions that Holacracy has, which can address those pains to convince whoever needs to be convinced of trying something. So these are some thoughts I have, but maybe the others have ideas too. Maybe Tom or Peter.
100%, Dennis. In my experience too. I'm trying to think of one example. Actually, it was Lufthansa, I believe. They had like an innovation group, leadership innovation, what's coming in the future. A lot of big companies that can afford that kind of thing will have, like little think tanks inside the company where you can get someone to sponsor or champion an idea, and that helps to anchor it. And then absolutely everything that Dennis said, you've got to find a group that can isolate itself or insulate itself to run the experiment. But yeah, I think Lufthansa ran some experiments under the guise of new leadership models. Go figure, right?
Yeah, it's all I can say is it's hard. I think it's really hard.
Right.
I know of somebody at Mercedes-Benz IO. They have a division there, and they managed to do this with like, I think 300 people or something. But yeah, because it was kind of like a separate entity or something, and they had free reins to do whatever they wanted. But apart from that, yeah, if there's big interdependencies, there's always the danger of a system clash. And if you think about it, it's like, okay, why can't they work like this and we can't? Let's say, I mean, these kinds of questions come up, and yeah, you will have to, yeah, I mean, yeah, it could grow theoretically if you're doing a good job and people realize, okay, this idea spreads and other departments would like to do that too. But then again, if it spreads really rapidly, then the question is, okay, who trains all these people? If it's like a 10,000 people company, I don't know how big Unilever is, but it's more than 10,000, I believe. So that's a logistical question, and that never been done so far, like really big implementations. So it's all pointing to maybe try in a different context, but yeah, good luck.
No, there are teams looking at future of work and agile models and different and alternative employee models. We're very at the forefront of thinking there, but because we struggle with the size and the slowness, and we recognize the problems. And although personally I see that there's already benefit in having let's say, the way you run a governance meeting or an operations meeting with the integration, simple things already can help streamline some meetings.
Yeah,
that's also along those lines that I'm often thinking. And the big thing that maybe holds us back is the yeah, the reward system. Yeah, there is a forced distribution. You know, there's a performance that it's related to. We call it a forced distribution. So you're being ranked against other people. So there's a permanent internal competition, although not outspoken, but there is. So it's mixed messages. On the one hand, we say work as one team. We're one team, one family, one company. But on the other side, the system of HR is not supporting that philosophy, and that is
undercutting that. Yeah, it's it's terrible. It sounds terrible in a way. Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, it's a
difficult topic.
Anyway, but I think the answers maybe there should be some level sufficiently level of shielding before, you know, there is a kind of sufficient protection for that circle to undertake this. That's
but then again, even if you manage, then in the end it's still fragile and vulnerable to things breaking apart and the wrong people leaving, or because it's not really anchored. It's not anchored in a constitutional decision by the board or something. That's a problem. But speaking about the Constitution, the new version 5 offers some benefits in that sense. I think for bigger companies, I think Bernard-Marie called this constitutional management. I like the topic or the term, and the idea is that that the Constitution and Holacracy is kind of a template just for good management. So you take parts of the Constitution, since you can break it down into the 5 articles, you can just say, okay, maybe we don't go all the way with governance and all that good stuff, but we can do roles and accountabilities, and we get clarity on the roles. That's improvement. And then, okay, maybe we can do this tactical meeting stuff, because that's actually much better than what we do in terms of meetings. Let's do that. Let's adopt this article. And by the way, wouldn't it be nice if we knew what the rules of collaboration were amongst us? So we can take the Article 2 as an inspiration and just adopt it and see how it works, and maybe add our own tweaks if we like to. But then at least we know we have some basis that we can refer to, and so on and so on. Then it could grow, like the momentum towards, like, okay, let's go all the way. If this is already so good and we're getting benefits and results, maybe something flips at some point. No, or at least you stop halfway, which is fine too. At least you have some improvement from Holacracy. So you could try that.
Okay.
Start small.
Yep. Cool. Thanks, Dennis.
All right. You got what you needed.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So let's take Tom's attention. 5.0 anchor lead. What's the curiosity?
Yeah, I actually had this come up not too long ago, last week, actually, with an Encode client that's becoming a for-purpose enterprise. And I was curious, maybe Dennis specifically at Expreneurs. In 5.0, you can actually have a circle lead for the anchor circle, which is new. And I was wondering if anybody can think of a good use case for that. I'm so old school. I think of an anchor circle as a circle without a lead link, always, 4.0. And just integrating context, always. And as a best practice, I realize you can adopt otherwise. You can adopt with a general circle, like go straight to a general circle. The power holder can be the quote lead link of the general circle, same similar pattern. But if you broaden that to the anchor, is there a good use case for an anchor circle lead?
Well, the use case, I guess, is to pacify that sense of control of the ego.
See, you know how I'm going to respond to that. You're right. The pacification part is what bugs it.
Yeah, I think it's like they can't imagine that there's not one person you can like ultimately fall back to, or it feels like
Exactly.
good. I
Chairman,
think it's just playing into that psychology part. You don't really need it because you could, the default now is that there is none. I mean, or was it ever different? I don't know. But
no.
default is the anchor circle has no lead link. And if you say let's skip the kind of the outer shell thing that the anchor circle for most companies feels like, let's let the anchor circle be the first operational circle, so to speak. Let it be the general, and the anchor is the one thing. Then a circle lead makes sense, or is, I think, desirable just for some work. And then
and then you can put accountabilities on the circle lead for the anchor circle, which is kind of odd too, I guess. I'm trying to think of the chairman of the board comes to mind. The ultimate authority role, I guess. So this client, Athena Group, I think they did one of the first modular deployments of Holacracy 5.0. And they've got this lead link in the anchor circle. And it kind of threw me. I was like, damn, I don't like it. I don't know why I don't like it. I want to get rid of it.
Well, it sounds to me like you have somebody who signed the Constitution, but not really. And so I'm finding a loophole to still hold on to that power a little bit. So it might be useful to bridge into that, maybe. But
yeah. Guess who's filling that role? The owner of the company.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, right.
No surprise.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah.
And I use that language intentionally, the owner of the company, right? Yeah. Okay. Great. That helps kind of validate my thinking. Unless you had something that popped out that said, no, I've seen this before, seen some pattern somewhere.
Maybe just a related thing, because it came up, I think Jonah and Holacracy Slack somewhere posted, which was related to if there's no lead link, how does the budgeting? No, how does the budgeting work, or the role filling? And I think it's a domain of so everyone can access, with a new mechanism, can announce the intent to access the domain and then wait for objections, and if none surface, then assume that access has been granted. So anyway, it's an interesting note here.
Yeah. So 5.0 handles the resource allocation differently, which solves that lead link problem again. So yeah.
All right, let's move on to tensions versus purpose. Peter.
Yeah. So this is something I've started to wonder about lately. So I was wondering if other practitioners had some insights or experience with. So it's kind of the difference to me between sensing tensions and sensing purpose, and how to and seeing if there's a difference, and how to practice that. And so sensing a tension obviously is sensing a gap between what is and could be, which is supposed to be grounded in experience, right? So it's tied to something that already happened. Otherwise, it wouldn't be an experience.
Yeah. So the way I see it, what purpose does is inform what is considered to be the gap between what is and what could be. Because if you align with purpose, then purpose is the lens through which you feel the tension. Does it make sense?
Kind of, but I'd like to
yeah,
dig
so
a little bit deeper.
So
because purpose, so I know what it feels like to sense purpose as well. It's like, so sometimes described as a pull, right? Almost like pulling into the future. So there could be elements in there already.
yeah,
but it's not about, that is not something about that already happened. So it's not about it. So it's kind of similar. So maybe attention could be as well generated by that pull. So I was just curious how others were holding that.
I'm not sure I quite yet understand the problem, so to speak, or what you want to. It seems like you want to differentiate something here. There's tension, and there's the feeling like. So for me, tensions are informed through purpose. If I don't align with any purpose, I don't feel any tension because I don't have there's no direction to go. There's nowhere to go, so I'm not off. And nothing's off. Everything's fine if I'm not aligned with purpose, because then there is no tension. And once I align with it, with the purpose,
what does aligning with the purpose mean?
That makes tension salient in the first place. Yeah,
okay, I kind of get that mentally, but how do you align with purpose? What do you mean by that exactly?
Well, one thing is you have the individual purpose, which you immediately tap into and you feel when you're off or on, and that may or may not overlap with the organizational purpose. Ideally, it overlaps, but it's not the same. Right?
No, it's not the same.
But if I step into role, I assume the purpose of the organization, which may or ideally overlaps with my personal purpose, which then would make me a great worker there, because I would be totally self-motivated to fill that role.
Sure.
But there's also roles I fill which I'm not really enthusiastic and excited about, but I still sense tension by assuming the role and feeling into the purpose of that role. That makes things salient for me in terms of being attention for that role. So I would differentiate between maybe the difference is purpose like personal purpose and role purpose, and sometimes they're the same, but often they're not. And
I guess they would never be the same, but they could be very much
similar overlap.
So I think what I was wondering about is that if you feel a pull, let's say from your own purpose, just to make it not complicate matters too much. Well, this is about holacracy, so it has to be, I guess, organizationally. Yeah, well, let's say then I'm in a role that's really aligned with with my own purpose. To get out from under that, and I feel a pull, but maybe that is a tension. I really liked something that Chris wrote about tension. The tension is really the signal. It's not, let's say, the underlying problem or opportunity. The tension itself is the signal. Because it still is, a gap between it is and could be. So it's still, at least, in part future oriented, right? Tension.
Yeah, right. But it's not primarily a thought, but it's like a visceral impulse or feeling or frustration. And then that's like, what is this stuff? And then you realize, okay, it should be this way.
Yep. I think that works. So to see attention could be something like resulted by a pull from purpose, but also some event that happens that you feel attention about, or
Yeah, I mean,
be about
that's
like purpose generated.
The definition of tension, as I understand in Holacracy, is both like the potential and the thing that you don't want to happen again or something. One has a concrete example, maybe, you know, right, the past thing that happened that didn't work out, and so that creates a tension for me. But there's also this other side of it, which the tension as it is kind of a perceived chance, something that's actually pulling me into a higher potential. Nothing is wrong per se, but
unrealized
potential,
an unrealized potential, which is very much purpose related.
Right.
That works for me, actually.
Feels more purposey.
Yeah. I think that works. That works for me. Yeah. All
right.
Anybody else? Any insights or thoughts? Or
similar for me. I like the pursuit of purpose, because that's an ongoing thing, right? It's a sense, and I like Peter's pull. It tugs at you. Even your role's purpose is a pursuit of that role's purpose. And then I also like the unpacking in pursuit. Tension processing is unpacking for me in pursuit of purpose. It's like a orders or layers, or there's like a hierarchy almost in that. They're very much related, but it's always in pursuit of a sense. It's very much, for me, a feeling. That sense and respond thing, it plays out quite nicely there, I think. Sense, purpose, response, tension, process.
okay, cool.
You get what you need, Peter.
Yeah, thank you. It was helpful.
Cool. Let's move on to decisions affect everyone. Elijah, what is it?
Yeah. So obviously I'm very new to the game. So just some of these concepts, it's like, yeah, can it really work like that? And I'll give you a specific example of what I mean by decisions affect everyone. We at PowerShift Properties, we're issuing a token, the PSPP token, and one of my roles is tokenomics, and so that role now has the ability to dictate, I guess, which doesn't sound like a Holacracy type word, but
decide. How about decide?
Decide. Okay, yeah, decide how, like, when, like, how long the lockup period is, for example. Like when somebody buys, when an investor buys PSPP, how long does that PSPP have to be locked up for? And that really affects the entirety of the equation, because if you do it over a long vesting schedule, and there's a little amount of supply on the market to start, the price has the ability to go all over the place because there's a small supply. And so just questions like that, where it seems like one role's decision affects the whole situation. That part is really hard for me to grok or like get comfortable with, because I guess metaphorically, the way I describe it is an organization is a building, it's a house, and there's certain decisions that are like a pillar of the building, and seems like more, yeah, it seems like more roles or something should, it's hard to get away from making decisions together on certain core decisions.
It doesn't mean you need to, I mean, you know that you can always gather data from other roles, right? So it's not like you have to, I mean, what I'm hearing, I'm correct me if I'm wrong, is this kind of like, oh, this is some awesomely kind of consequential decision, and I'm uncertain if I make a mistake, then I fuck it all up for everyone. So I feel everyone should kind of decide with me or something. Is that fair?
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
right.
And there are, yeah, I think there are decisions like that. And sometimes we build processes around these to make sure, perspectives get integrated. Like we create a process to decide upon salary. You first have to go to this role, and then the other role needs to design the process, and then there's the third role, and you follow this and that policy while doing it. And so, but this is all tension based. So if nobody has a problem with the current way it is, then we trust the role filler to be the sensor to make that call. So you are in that role because you are trusted to make that call. And if we didn't trust you to make that call, we wouldn't put you into that role. Or if we felt like it needs more kind of boundary conditions, then we would create policies or domains around this, or clear processes, and that would curtail your like area of decision making, let's say, and where we would put conditions on certain decisions or something like that. Since no tension yet arose, it's still kind of, the road is still clear for you to just go like if be the proverbial Ferrari and just whatever you and that is coming maybe from the previous work context. That feels really, wow, I don't know what it feels, but it's scary maybe, and I can just say, get the feedback that you need to get the data that you need to make an informed decision, and there's always a chance that you fuck it up, and that's okay, to some degree. If it's not like fucking up the whole thing, then fine, I guess. But if you can ask your colleagues if you aren't certain. But in the end of the day, the role needs to make a decision. And decision is cutting away options. That's always the nature of decisions, and it's always, there can be mistakes and everything, but that's just the way it is. You gotta lead it.
So there's no specific format for having discussions around those types of decisions. It's just up to the role filler to get information from the people.
I would say there are like smaller decisions, and then there's big decisions. Should we move into that new office building? Whatever. That's a big decision, has lots of consequences, and you would probably, create certain maybe would want to integrate a lot of perspectives around this before you take that decision. But you can define those guardrails. If you feel uncomfortable, or any of your colleagues would feel uncomfortable with you making that decisions, then they had the chance to create governance around it. If they don't, then they don't. Then they trust you blindly, maybe. They do trust you. And that can be cool too. Like, wow, I'm empowered. I really am empowered. I have the power to act, and that's weird, because in other systems we don't have that power.
I think that's it. I'm looking around. I'm just like, wait, am I really just this empowered?
Go.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing, the organization has great clarity on where the authority is to make that decision. So that is what the organization has decided, and then some role has decided to put you in that role. So there you go. That's it for now.
You're the CEO of that role.
And then you just rely on other people to process their tensions. If your decisions create tensions, then awesome. I think that's actually an insight here, that what you want to do is create new tensions, because that's information. And processing tensions makes your organization stronger. I think that's a good way to look at processing tensions. It makes your organization stronger. And if you process a tension well, then you get at least 2 new tensions, at least.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
You could also kind of like think of the next role filler after you, and with your wisdom, like, wow, this is a really consequential decision. If this gets fucked up, I better put, not that I would need those guardrails, but I should put into place guardrails. Like, let's say I'm a webmaster, and you know, there's safety policies that should better be in place. Currently, that's not a problem because nobody has a way to access the back end. But once somebody does, things can really go south. Certain things are not kind of you know, regulated. So, you know, you can already create a regulation around how certain kinds of decisions are being taken in the future, and that would be a gift to your successor, to the person who follows you in your role, and maybe the organization who may, you know, may not know about tokenomics, and you know, the other roles have no idea how it works. You're the one-eyed person among the blind. And yeah, then if you see more, then you have more responsibility, I guess.
And yeah, that is what I'm worried about, is that it's a specific area of expertise that potentially other roles don't know how to think about the implications of it.
Yeah, and that's division of labor. And we need to be able to have the right people and the right roles to make the right decisions. And so you are the sensor for that kind of decision. So that's why you are in that role. Other roles, other people don't have that capacity yet, so, but they're not, they don't have the job to make those decisions.
I got what I needed. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
I was thinking, Dennis, to add something. I've been part of a strategy process once with Tom and Peter. And there's also, I understood you for maybe more at a higher conceptual level, you're making distinctions between this over that. So it could be in that this is really on tension level, what we're talking about, but in that strategy process at a higher level, there's also clarity coming to the table in terms of this is of a higher priority than that. If we as a circle are faced with a certain decision, like the vesting period of 3 years or whatever that example was, yeah, there could be also a process that might maybe contribute to those that issue as well. I'm not sure. I felt it once with Tom in that strategy session we had on PowerShift People, and at the end of it, there came 3 or 4 statements that were very clear strategic directions. Yeah, I felt that useful as well, to feel that also there something happens in what is more important than something else. Maybe the vesting period that you're talking about, maybe that has an impact on people leaving the company, or I don't know the impact it might have. And then you can say, yeah, what's more important here? Just came to my mind the power or their strength or this value in that strategy process. It maybe, but I'm not so deep in it. It could help.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move on to Holacracy without people and legal context, Erik.
Yeah, that's also a bit related to my first issue, is that, and it comes. I just was reading an article on the ENCODE website on DAOs, DAOs, and yeah, yeah, you might have
might have been, yeah.
And then I had a conversation recently with the company on decentralized finance and so on, and then basically I saw that there mentioned as well that, yeah, if you do holacracy, but you missed the 2 other legs of the people context and the legal context. Yeah, that also in that article it was described as that's potentially dangerous. Yeah, as so the question is, I know, yeah, you have for-purpose enterprise and holacracy, but yeah, it seems so risky just to go with holacracy on its own without the 2 other context spaces properly. And that's a bit the question. Can yeah, are the companies just doing holacracy? Can it go, yeah, can it go well without the 2 other legs?
With that explicit rule sets around these, you mean? because the difference is Holacracy in the context of a for-purpose enterprise is, yeah, you do have these other things in place. Like there's a
then you have it.
context,
But if you don't have it,
yeah, well, you know, any other context where Holacracy has been practiced, there is a legal context always.
Okay.
By definition, I mean, there's an owner of the company or something.
Yeah.
And so that's there. It's just that the legal context is not necessarily conducive to the practice of Holacracy, and sometimes maybe conflicts on certain things. I mean, the whole ownership idea is kind of creating two classes of people: the people who own the company and those who are employees, like, right? So that kind of distorts the interpersonal space in a certain way, where should I say this to this person, or will he fire me? You know, you can't be fully honest, maybe, or you hold back. You know, that's maybe even subtle, but it's still there, and it's created by that legal context, even if you don't want it to be that way, but it is subtly that way. And but there are companies practicing Holacracy also with regard to the people context. They don't have maybe a clearly spelled out rule set for how to deal with, let's say, interpersonal tensions, but they still have a cultural kind of practice in place, like they're people, and they this is how we do things around here, and it's kind of implicit, and it still works because it's how we function anyway as humans. We mostly have a sense for implicit, how we fit in, and we take care not to step on toes, and we try to figure out what's the pattern here in this group, and how can I not violate that or support that. And then there's, of course, companies who also do a lot to foster conviviality or living together or being together outside of work, like doing activities and so on. So and they're not, the most of them don't write it down in an explicit way. Maybe not even create roles, because it's also work, but they don't create a role for festivities or something. But they say, hey, do you do this, Karen, or whatever? Yeah, sure, I will organize it, and then they use company money, and it just happens somehow. But it's not like that. You could mirror it into the holarchy, make it a role or even a circle dealing with these things, and then would be clear. But yeah, it works. Just not as elegant.
And because sometimes I'm saying to people, if I talk about this Holacracy and FPE, I say, yeah, you have owners and workers. It's almost like you're cheating on the people. So you say, you give them a false illusion of, maybe it's a bit overstated what I'm saying, but you give them a kind of a false illusion of autonomy and decision taking and self-organization and governance in Holacracy, all fine. But yeah, when the owner decides to turn the ship to the left side and fire half of the people, there you're sitting with all your nice intended, I thought I was autonomous and I could take some decisions here, but in the end, I'm just a puppet again. And it's even worse maybe after that.
Yeah. So it's like more like you have the impression, or it's kind of
it's a big carrot in front of you, like, oh, you're autonomous. But when the company goes bad, the owner says, and now you're out because I don't have the money to pay.
But the owner can't pull that stuff like more than once or something, or it's becoming very obvious. Like, that's why we make them sign the Constitution, which is at least a signal that, hey, we intend to hold to these rules, and you can hold us to them, even though we may violate them unwittingly on any given day, but we intend to stay true to these rules. So yeah, if you find us violating them, please let us know. Until further notice, we stick to the Constitution as a rule set, which then has where people have clarity. Okay, well, it makes sense to learn Holacracy and to practice this because the company actually adopted it officially. And if sometimes the management doesn't take that step, then it's hanging in the air somehow, and it all defaults back to subjective. Now the rules are in place, and today I decide to micromanage, and then it becomes a subjective, collapses into that subjective power holding. And yeah, then basically it's almost like having no rules at all, because yeah, it's still subjective.
As long as it is clear, right? You can live the Constitution and be loyal to the Constitution, but then everyone should know, okay, guys, but there's owners and they have a certain decision power because they own the company. So
yeah,
as long as that's understood, that's okay then.
They can only decide to pull the plug fully, and so it's like a switch, like yes or no. Are we playing the game or are we not playing the game? If we're not playing the game, fine. Just let me know. It would be fair, wouldn't it?
True.
Pretend to play the game and then tell me no, actually no, we don't play the game, because then I'm confused and don't know what's true. Yeah. So I would, as a worker, I would try to demand that clarity if my company says, hey, we're doing Holacracy, but only if I'm not fearing for my job.
I've been in the position actually. So I implemented Holacracy at a place where I worked, and turned out afterwards that the owner was actually, well, like half on board with Holacracy, but also playing a different game, and that drove people mad. And that is the worst thing you can do, to say one thing and do the other, and have kind of two systems at the same time. That's what I said as well at the time. I'd rather have like an honest, conventional way of working than this.
Yeah, or rewrite the Constitution in any way you think makes sense, but then the rule said you can amend the Constitution, or you can fork it or whatever, and then it's clear at least what it is that you want to have the right to still do or whatever. Good, then do that, but then at least it's clear.
Yeah. Another thing I've seen in other organizations, so they were running Holacracy, they adopted Holacracy and pretty well. But when they then try to do it, but you've introduced Holacracy, no managers anymore. So if you don't have a decision-making system around people anymore, and then people try to use Holacracy to make decisions around people, and it never works. So I get the impulse to want to do that, but it just doesn't work. So kind of how do you make decisions about what time do we start work? Does everybody get a phone? Or you cannot use Holacracy to make those kind of decisions. It doesn't work. So that's one of the reasons why you need another system. So how do you process tensions that are not work related, that are related to people or to profit distribution or whatever? How do you do that?
Does that help, Erik?
Yeah. Thank you.
You get what you need for now? Good.
Thank you.
Maybe then I take my 3 types of agreement thing, just, tying into that, because currently there's confusion and something that is not well communicated yet in the practitioner trainings is that it's actually 3 mediums for agreement in Holacracy alone. not yet to speak of the for-purpose enterprise, but so we do have the medium of governance, we do have the medium of relationship agreements, and we do have the medium of work contracts. And 2 of these are between the person and the organization, and one, namely governance, is intra-organizationally. So it's the organization making an agreement with itself. The roles belong to the organization. They kind of agree amongst each other, so to speak, about the expectations they can have towards each other. And if you want to regulate, like, okay, when does work start, or who does the shift over the weekend or something like that, that of course, you cannot, people try to squeeze that into governance because they, that's a new tool they have. So they think they have to take these kinds of decisions in form of let's say, of a policy. And then they end up producing formal errors in the governance, and basically invalid governance, because they produce policies that mandate people or try to regulate people. That's a problem. And so with version 5.0, Holacracy also introduced the relationship agreement. I think it was practiced at Holacracy 1 before, but this as a medium for capturing agreements between people or between organization and the person. And so if you, let's say, Christian and I, we we had our issues at Encode. We worked together. She wanted to come today too, Christiana. Anyway, and then we decided, whenever we have an issue, we stop writing on Slack or whatever we did, but we get together and hop on a Zoom call. That was our relationship agreement, and it worked fine. It worked really great. We captured that. So that's an example for this relationship agreement, and it's another medium, but it's not in the governance. You capture it outside of that. And then the third medium again is work contracts. Okay, if the organization agrees with the person, or the person agrees with the organization to take weekend shifts, let's say, work time agreements or stuff like that, or let's say dress code or something. That's nothing that should be part of the governance, but that's part of the agreement between the organization and the person. So this is always a bilateral agreement, like the relationship agreement is also bilateral, and the governance is a unilateral agreement. Anyway, just wanted to highlight these differentiations because it's hasn't yet arrived in the community of practice, really, because it's not being taught. It's just in some articles by Chris. You can piece it together for yourself. And as a result, we see lots of, as coaches, we see a lot of, in governance reviews, a lot of invalid policies that just don't get that distinction because nobody told them. Anyway, just wanted to mention that. And if there's any other questions, comments about this, let me know. No, good. Got what I needed. Let's move on to role and circle use cases.
Oh, that's me. So I just thought I would utilize Dennis's experience at Expert Nurse to see if he's had any examples, now that 5.0 has kind of been out for a bit, of people taking advantage of roles that can become circles without governance and have an inside. Have you seen that? Any use cases where a role decides that it wants to have an inside and have more roles in it, thereby becoming a circle?
Yeah, actually, I did this once.
Did you?
Yes. I think it was for a training. Was it even for the coach training? Yeah, I think. Where I decided, I was training organizer, so I decided, okay, let's expand with a focus on coach training. So I decided, okay, I need a technical for the for kind of would be helpful to organize this, because we had to develop the format in German for the German market new, so there was a lot of work. And there were other roles that I invited to linked into this, basically. And so we did this, and then we dissolved the circle later. But it was temporarily very convenient to be able to link roles, existing roles into that, that circle. That would be an example.
Yeah, cool.
All right.
What I needed.
Is that it?
Yep, that was it.
Right. Excellent. All right. Domain bottleneck. Yes. The answer is yes.
Yeah, that's just, my curiosity is, back to, it's really related to my first question, I guess, and related to the Ferrari with no speed bumps. It seems like that's how domains are used. Another word for bottleneck is like gatekeeper. And we in PowerShift Properties have multiple roles that contribute to the website in various ways. And so, it doesn't make sense to me that the role holder that owns the website domain like has ultimate rule, because it seems like bottlenecks, gatekeeping, being the ruler of something is not what this whole holacracy system is about. So yeah, I'm trying to understand domains better and how to have multiple roles contributing to a domain without feeling like somebody can just say yes to this, no to this. Yes to
Yeah, well, it's not that simple. So there is an obligation on the holder of a domain to, if you want to access a domain, to answer, first of all, and then if they deny permission, then to give a reason. And not just say no. That doesn't work, because if you want to access the domain, you need to know why not. What is so dangerous, or what could go horribly wrong? Because if you don't have that information, you cannot propose meaningful governance, right? Let's say, you cannot access the server because you're not technically skilled to do so. Okay, that's the reason. Then I could say, okay, let's create a policy. Anyone with who has done this and that course on internet security, whatever, has a permission to access the domain. That would be the policy, and then you could find a workaround. But if they just say no, and you cannot propose that, and then it's that would be, that's just not that's a violation of the rules, actually. So they have to give transparency to their reasoning. It's just like saying, objection. Yeah, what's the objection? Yeah, objection. I won't say no information. I just don't want this proposal. I just say object. We wouldn't get any further. So if you object, you need to give a reasoning, and then the reasoning gives a clue for how we can amend the proposal so that the security aspect can still be honored, but we can still give you access or something, or permission under certain circumstances or something. But that doesn't work if it's just a simple no. And we usually say avoid too many domains. If you want them to stay meaningful, then just give few domains, first of all, and every domain should have a reason for existing. Like if this didn't exist, I would fear immediately this and that bad thing would happen. And so you have to give an example. What is the bad thing that would happen? So if anyone would propose a domain, as a facilitator, I would always, not always, but most times I would ask questions about, okay, can you give me an example for why you think, what would happen if that domain didn't exist? What would it? Oh, I don't know, nothing specific. I just thought we all have domains, so I gave myself a domain too. Then I would say, okay, sorry, that's not a valid proposal. It cannot be processed because you need an example. You need a concrete tension behind creating a domain, because it's a fence. And a fence, as you said, it hinders people from accessing property of the organization. and that is always like red tape. We want to avoid red tape. We don't want so much red tape. We want people to be able to work unencumbered, and so that's why we should always be skeptical. Somebody proposes a domain.
Got it.
Yeah. All right. Did you get what you need?
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. So Holacracy Forum 2023. Just news on that for you. So that was transferred last time from Rebecca to the community of practice, or the international community of practice. So now we have a few people who stepped up. We just had our meeting yesterday, the day before, where we discussed it. So there's currently now Derek, myself, Eleanor, and Yoat was on the call, and Rebecca, and also Tom Mulder is involved. We will have our first tactical meeting, I think the week after next week, to put some stakes in the ground, like a date and that. I'm curious to see if H1 is gonna really let go of this event and really say, okay, you guys do it. Rebecca had some clawback reflexes like last time. Felt like still like it's dear to her heart. You can really feel it. Anyway, so maybe since probably looking at next year, September, as a likelier date, because probably slots will be taken already in May or so. By now, because we waited a little too long, I guess. Well, we'll see. Anyway,
Amsterdam again.
Amsterdam. Yeah, likely. Yeah. I toyed around with the idea we could go elsewhere too, and then what everybody is pretty much no, not a good idea. I like Amsterdam too, so I'm fine with that. So yeah, anything. Anyway, I just wanted to say things are moving, stuff is happening. So
it's great.
Yeah. So can I comment on that, or
sure. Comment.
Yeah, so what popped up for me is that if you guys would be up for it, to coordinate with just.work to, if people are coming in, hopefully from around the world to Amsterdam to be there, that we can kind of do that back to back, maybe with the just.work
community gathering or
thing. So not combining the two, I'm not suggesting that at all. But to coordinate to have that very close together, so that people, if they want to come over and then join both of these events, that might would be interesting to think about it, to talk about it.
Yeah, as soon as I have a date, I think we will probably communicate that far and wide so people can mark their calendars. So, and then we can talk about this if there's anything from organizer's side or from organization's side.
I think obviously if just.work knows when this is going to happen, we can plan something.
Yeah, right.
Very close, but then it would be interesting to maybe join forces in marketing as well. I don't know, just throwing that up as a thought that came up for me.
Sounds good. I'll keep it in mind, and feel free to, if you have any other ideas around that event, or any of you, and any wishes or any.
I am really curious because I guess you guys just one meeting, so you don't know, but there's an inclination to do things differently than the way it happened before.
Yeah, we're still figuring that out. So first we said, okay, so we're toying around with two ideas basically, or let's say there's a spectrum. So you could do it like really a provider focused kind of really the inside crowd, which then does the focus is on meeting and really having deep exchanges. versus a public-facing event, which attracts people from that are in the wider orbit and interested in Holacracy and just want to meet, let's say, I don't know, headliners. Like let's say we invite Brian and David again or something, or Tom. So that want to meet these people and would come for that and would also pay for that. So that would be kind of and maybe a mixture of both. Like we have, that's also something we discussed, to have like a few days more focused on that appeal, the kind of the keynote headliner thing, and then also kind of a deep like open space bar camp style whatever thing going, and maybe made the best of both worlds to pay for it in the end also. Those are the ideas floating around. We're not sure yet. I think it's probably likely. I mean, it's not so different. I think for the concept won't be so different if it's to be commercially viable, and then we're not kind of losing money on this, because it seems to be not a big money making machine. That's what we heard. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you
All
happen
right.
to remember, Dennis, how many people showed up last time? I forget. How well attended?
The very last edition, I think they were less than the 150, but maybe around.
Pandemic, probably, and hybrid, whatever.
Yeah, but
Okay.
there was also the COVID back and forth, and right,
Yeah, exactly.
that didn't really help.
Right.
Anyway, let's see. Okay, guys, we got 10 minutes left, which is great, because then we can do an extensive checkout and then close the space. And who wants to start off? Maybe Peter.
Yeah, sure. This is really cool. Thank you, Dennis. It's really enjoyable, really also Holacracy style with an agenda building. So that's good. Really enjoy these kinds of events. So fun to participate. Also hope that you will make the recorder available through the platform that will be in your guild. So have a history, so people who missed it can watch it back and rejoin later and build up a history. So that would be really cool. Thank you. Like I said, really enjoyed it.
Awesome. Elijah.
Yeah, it's great to be here. I'm fascinated by this work, and it's awesome to have a forum to be able to ask the questions that keep circulating in my mind and have experts answer them. So grateful. Look forward to the next one.
Excellent. Erik.
Yeah, same here. Thank you all for the session. I realize these sessions are important for me to keep connected with this world of self-organization, for-purpose enterprise, holacracy. I'm dedicated to do my bit in support the world moving to a different system. As I come from more than 25 years of command and control and centralization, which is no longer working, but we are in a transition. So for me, it's important to be able to be part of these guilds and to get feet and being connected and feel your vibes and energy. So I thank you all for that. And with that, I'm out. Thank you so much, Dennis, for organizing.
Thank you. And Tom.
Yeah, this is so cool. Really appreciative of Peter and just.work to get the platform up and running and the guild going. And Dennis, you just always do such a cool job. The Miro board, the layout, the pacing, the whole guild format was really nice to engage in. And I can't wait for more and more people to be able to show up here and get practice tips and share experiences playing this game together. So really cool to hang out with you all. Thanks.
Awesome. Yeah, lovely to be with you. I really enjoyed the session too. It's really nice. I love this format. I did this with at Hyperport. I did this basically also, yeah, for the German speaking practice community, and it just works really nicely, I think. And yeah, I'm looking forward to meeting the other people in the guild here and make this place come alive. So with that said, we have, I think, one, not sure when I will put on the next, if it's going to be in December, maybe not, or maybe, we'll see. At the latest in January, I think we'll put on another one. So I plan to do these monthly. So that's the current plan. Yeah. You will hear from me.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Right.
have a nice
Thanks,
day.
everybody.
Have a good
Bye.
weekend.
Bye.
Bye.